Hey everyone, welcome back to AFTV. Now, I told you all in the In Focus video where I tried to break down Jurrien Timber and where he'd fit in this Arsenal team to look out for this very special interview with Juan from We Talk Ajax. A big thank you for joining us, Juan. We're going to talk about Timber, what he could bring to Arsenal, and who better to speak to than, you guys who are massive Ajax fans, who I think had to do quite a lot of this last year when it looked like he might be going to Man United as well. But welcome to AFTV.
Thank you, James. Thank you for having me. Actually, we invited you on the channel not so long ago to talk about Mislintat. And now you guys have to deal with our new director of football. It's funny how football works sometimes.
And actually, you asked me, everyone, go check out that video on We Talk Ajax. I really enjoyed the chat. But I think we went into a discussion around whether they left on good terms. Well, I really hope they did now. I really hope they did now. Sven, do us a little favor. But anyway, we'll see. Look, I have to be honest. I was watching a movie on Monday night. I was thinking Rice, Havertz, and then I was thinking, oh, okay. Now Lavia's come up. Arsenal are getting busy, and out of nowhere, David Ornstein, who is the guy in the UK and for Arsenal when it comes to transfer news, he just goes bid rejected for Timber. Confident that something will get done. And we're thinking, wow, we couldn't have picked a player more perfect for what our back four needed. A right-sided centre-back who can play right back, really good on the ball. And I've tried to do a breakdown where I discuss where he could fit in this Arsenal team and help Arteta evolve. But you've been watching for a long, long time, and I'm really curious to get your thoughts. Before we go into the player himself, had there been rumours of a departure for him this summer before all this Arsenal stuff kind of spilled out?
Yes. The thing is that last season, you already touched upon it. There was a lot of link with Manchester United, and actually Manchester United targeted Timber first, right? And then they switched gears to Martinez. But Timber had there's a movie that came out about that time, a documentary about not only Timber, but also Gravenberch and Rensch. And there was like a piece about that in which Timber explains that he was having a hard time making the decision. But Ajax really wanted him to stay because we lost like 10 players, six first 11 players. Last summer was really ridiculous from our side. So Ajax did everything they could to keep him one more year, and he accepted it. Also a player coming from the academy who has a little bit more to, like linkage with Ajax. So of course he got an upgrade. We gave him a 1-year extension, and he got also a fair amount of money for it. But you can sense in the interviews a lot lately in the recent weeks. Even he came on a talk show not so long ago, and Marco van Basten was trying to tell him, don't leave yet, stay. You didn't have a good season this season. Maybe when you're really good, then you have to go to the bigger leagues, And he was like listening to him. But I feel deep down, I think he might be very interested to go to Arsenal as well. So.
Okay. And there are rumors of a release clause. You mentioned that new contract there. Do you know anything about this? Apparently, it's activated in 2 weeks, but I mean, I don't know. I'm always skeptical of release clauses. Quite, ever since the Luis Suarez bid of 2013, I'm very skeptical when it comes to release clauses. But have you heard anything about this?
I'm gonna be very honest with you. I mean, I will only tell you things that I'm really certain about.
Sure, of course.
I haven't heard anything about a clause. However, Ajax is known to, when a player says, okay, I'm going to stay longer, there is this kind of verbal gentleman agreement that has been going on for years, in which Ajax is much, much more, like when the next summer comes and the window comes and a good club comes for him, then they will not be like, no, we're not going to be tough on you on this one. So like it happened with Van de Beek, for instance. It happened with other players as well. You can get Ziyech as well. We could have asked more money for him, but he stayed. Ziyech was already playing 5 years for Ajax, I believe. Timber could have gone last season. So Ajax always has that in the back of their mind. And I also think Sven, even though he's new, he would honor such agreements that have been made in the past as well.
That's very interesting because, I mean, now I'm jumping to a question from a little bit later that I wanted to bring up. But as you mention it, the figures that are floating around, and you never really know for sure, but we're hearing 45 to 50 million euros is around that sounds, I don't want to say cheap, because I know the Premier League operates in, quite frankly, extortionate numbers. But for a player as talented as him, I wouldn't think that's a figure that Arsenal wouldn't happily come to. So do you think that's sort of part of the agreement where maybe last summer it probably would have taken more to get him out of the club?
Yeah, I don't think Ajax is going to risk it, I mean, of course, let's be honest, we want the money and we want as much as possible.
Mm.
But I think based on last season that he stayed and he was, saying that he wants to stay, but he would not extend his contract if there wasn't something in place to guarantee or give him some kind of confidence or comfort that he could leave if something else comes along. So
Yeah.
I think honestly, okay, so the news that we heard, first bid 30 million pounds, so let's say 35 million euros. I'm sorry, I have to make it in euros for myself. But Ajax is asking for 60 million pounds, something like that.
Okay.
I think honestly, anywhere in the middle, I think that's where we're going to end up with.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. We'll leave that to Sven Mislintat and Edu. Like I said, Sven, we liked you at Arsenal. Just remember that. Let's talk about the player. How good is he? Because I watch YouTube comps. Look, I don't watch Ajax every week. Of course, followed, what Ajax do in Europe, and especially during the Eric Ten Hag period. Really fascinating watching those sides. But Timber, my word, does he look so impressive on the ball. But you just touched on there that Ajax haven't had their best season. He hasn't had his best season. So kind of what's your feeling around the player and his quality?
I think he's one of the best players we have in the team currently, which is not that hard, to be honest, this season. But even in the season before, in which you had Lisandro Martinez and you had players like Mazraoui and all these kind of players, he was really one of the top performers. And I think the thing that I have to be honest as well, just let me go back a little bit, just to put things into perspective. Timber has been playing like a regular starter, so for the team for now 1.5 seasons. His debut was in March 2020, and that debut was actually funny because that was the last game we played in the Eredivisie that season because of the Corona pandemic. So, but he made a very good impression. But next season, it would take a few months for him to really actually outplay Per Schuurs. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but
Yeah, I know Per Schuurs. Yeah,
he's been linked with Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Napoli, etc. But the thing that made Timber better than Schuurs, especially, is he can play much better at the high line. As a center back, he's much more agile. He's quicker in handling. His handling speed is much quicker than Schuurs. So all these kind of things are typical what we look for. If you can defend, that's one thing when you play for Ajax, but that's not enough. We really need you to be good and composed and what to do with the ball, because our attack always starts from the back, right? I mean, you see that a lot now in modern football as well, but Ajax always was the case. So it goes decades ago. So if we look at Timber specifically, what makes him so special is he's good at the ball, he's agile, he's versatile, he can play multiple positions, although mostly for Ajax he's been playing center back, but he did play occasionally with Ten Hag on the right back position. I don't think that was his best position, to be honest. I think he's much more comfortable playing as a center back, because what makes him great is also his ability to read the game and anticipate as a defender.
Yeah, there's been a lot of debate around sort of Arsenal fans now. Okay, well, if we're signing him, is he going to be a right back so he competes with Ben White? Will he be a centre back? One of the things that fascinated me about him potentially as a centre back for Arsenal is when I'm watching kind of, his highlight reel and I watch Ajax playing out the back. One of the things I mentioned in the In Focus video that came out earlier this week on AFTV is centre backs always like to split and get really wide. He seems really happy to say, oh, well, if I'm being pressed, I'll just run into midfield. I'll move somewhere else. And sometimes I've seen your goalkeeper has the ball and the pass isn't on, and you're thinking, rather than retreating further back to try get it, he's kind of coming more central, trying to. And I'm like, it's such a fascinating way of trying to beat the press. He seems an incredibly confident ball player.
He is. He is extremely confident, and at the same time, he's very calm. I mean it like also in his personal, private life. He's very calm. He has a very calm demeanor. He's not very outgoing or something like that. But it doesn't mean like on the pitch he's serious. He knows what to do. And I agree with you. The thing that makes him even better. Look, if I would like compare it a little bit, because people were asked this, like, how does he compare with Lisandro Martinez? Because they were the center back together, in which we had a very good season actually. I would say that Timber, what separates him from Lisandro Martinez is his ball carrying into the midfield. and also his handling. Again, it comes to agility and handling speed in tight areas. Martinez is also very clever at that, but I would say Martinez is a better passer from the back. Timber
Okay.
can pass as well. I'm sorry?
Oh, that's interesting. I would have thought the other way around. That's interesting.
Well, the thing is, the reason why I'm saying this is because this season, especially this season, look, I'm not going to criticize Timber a lot because there are like mitigating factors, to be honest. So if you look at the back four last season, before this season, we had Mazuri on the right, we had Timber, we had Lisandro Martinez, and on the left side, Blind was playing much more, but sometimes Tagliafico would come in as well. But let's say Daley Blind, all four of them, incredible on the ball. Like it's something of a luxury for us. Now, what happens is he lost everyone next to him. Daley Blind actually left during the World Cup, so he stayed like 3-4 months, but after that he left. So the remaining of the season, Timber was the only one left from last season. And I'm going to be very honest, the players that came in are not of the same quality. So the thing that a lot of fans, including myself, were hoping, maybe too much, is that he would step up as a build-up player. He didn't do too bad, but I expected him to do a little bit more. So again, I think Martinez especially has a little bit more confidence on the breaking the lines passing. I'm not saying Timber cannot do it. I'm just saying I didn't see enough of it. But again, it's very hard to compare because our team is totally different than last season.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things as well is he seems quite athletic to me. He looks like someone that, especially when Arsenal play such a high line, he looks like the kind of player that whether it's from centre back or right back, this is why I think a lot of people see him as a right back, because Ben White, even though he's our right back, he does tuck in quite a lot. The overlaps, I mean, he did overlap more this year and everyone started to get excited about that. But actually, they were kind of almost like I don't know, like a secret attack. Like Arsenal had their way of playing. And then if they had to throw a sixth man in that forward line, then White would get forward. But generally, he would be in the back for build-up. You think Timber, you know, I've seen these clips of him winning the ball from centre-back, passing it, and then charging forwards. I mean, he might have that appetite to get forward from right back in an Arsenal shirt.
Absolutely. I think it's like coming back to the signing in general and looking at what Arteta is trying to do. It's a clever signing in many ways because you can do so much with Timber. To be honest, I would say honestly because it's the Premier League and one of his weakest points is his aerial ability. Even at Ajax, that was shown a couple of times. So I'm not sure whether he would be occasionally playing as a right center back. Maybe if you play against low block teams, maybe.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I would say you can play him as an RB. He can be a very good, actually inverted right back, especially because what happens is also Zinchenko plays on the left, right? And he sometimes comes in as an extra midfielder in which you guys stay with three at the back. Yeah, that would be perfect for Timber as well because in the World Cup with Fajal, Fajal played with three at the back and Timber was the right center back at the time.
Do you think he could do that Zinchenko thing, but from right back? So at the end of last season, we played Kivior left back. You think Timber could then come inside into midfield?
Yeah, I think he could. The only difference is that Zinchenko is much more a clever passer and trying to find somebody between the lines.
More natural midfielder.
I think Timber would rush forward more.
Oh, that's interesting. Hey, look, I'm excited about it. I imagine there is disappointment from Ajax fans, though, that he could be off. Or is he going with your best wishes?
No, absolutely. We don't hold any grudges because he stayed for another year, right? And we know if a player is that good, eventually, if a good club comes and a big league comes, it's the way it is. And we wish him all the best. Actually, he's one of the fan favorites as well because he's just a very nice guy. He's really a nice guy.
Oh, good stuff. Well, look, I really hope it happens. So I want to ask you, do you think it happens? Do you think he's coming to Arsenal?
I pretty much think so because sources are quite credible. And also, I think he really wants to go to Arsenal as well. I think today there was an article from the Telegraaf, which is here in Holland. So there was rumors also that Bayern is interested, but he's much more focused on going to Arsenal. And I also think like maybe I didn't mention this enough. I think what you're trying to do or what Arteta is trying to do is you're getting an intelligent type of player. Intelligent players can learn much more quickly and can develop a little bit more as well. So let's not forget, this is not a finished player or finished product. This is a young player still going to a tougher league and he can become better even. And I think even the link up play with Saka is going to be very interesting as well.
Very moldable, I guess.
Yeah,
the raw talent's there.
Yeah. And one more thing, I read some, like on Twitter, but also other people. One of the hidden things we don't know for sure is whether he can play defensive midfield as well. So as a pivot, because he has the attributes that can make him good at that position, but he barely played there. And for Ajax, it makes sense that he didn't play there because we don't have a lot of good center backs of his quality, right? And we had Edson Alvarez, who was a much more typical pivot player at that time. Sure. But a lot of fans were questioning whether maybe he's a very good defensive midfield even.
Okay, well, I'd love to see that, because now we're hearing Partey could be leaving, and we haven't got Declan Rice through the doors. There's a lot happening. So, he might have to play quite a few roles for us. That inverted right-back one is interesting as well. I think he'll be playing a lot of his football in midfield for Arsenal in some capacity, but we'll see. Juan, an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. Everyone go and subscribe to We Talk Ajax, a fantastic channel. It was a pleasure to be on there chatting Mislintat with you. And like I said, hopefully Mislintat has a good part to play in this deal for us. Best of luck for the summer and the upcoming season as well. Thank you, Juan.
Same to you. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem at all. Many thanks.
Bye.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.